I'll let him deal with you later. Okay. All right. So thank you very much for inviting me here. God moves in very mysterious ways. I did not expect this to happen, but it happened. Well, I entitled today's Sharing God Moves in Mysterious Ways. When I met up with Matthew, wow, 2 months ago? Maybe 1 month. It feels like long ago. Sorry. Should be nearer. Okay, all right. All right. I was calculating, cannot be, I'm back for 3 months. I'm only got 2.5 weeks to go, so it cannot be 1 month. Where was I? Okay, we met. Okay, yeah. So anyway, okay, just to give you a background why we met. I have been away in the U.S. to study, so I'm back for the summer break, and so he asked to meet up, and then he said, "Can you preach for us?" I said, I came back with actually a lot of summer assignment, so I don't think I have time to prepare another sermon. And I'm telling you this not to brush you off, because I told the people at Momain the same thing. Because the leaders in Momain said, "Well, you're back, so please preach." I said, I came back with a lot of summer assignment. I cannot spend any time to go and prepare a new sermon, because when I prepare a sermon, I like to spend at least 3 to 4 days thinking about it, reflecting on it, doing all the research and everything. I cannot afford to do that. I have all these assignments to do. Okay. Then later on, you found out that actually I started to have one sermon at Momain. He said, "Well, can you do it over here?" I said, "Only if I get to repeat the same thing." And he said, "Sure, okay." And how I agreed to the people at Momain was this: I said, I only will share my life journey, because again, I didn't have time to prepare a full sermon. So it's not a sermon; it is just a sharing of what has been happening in my life. Okay. Not working. Let's see. Is this on? How do you tell whether it's on? Technology. Okay. Maybe I was too gentle with it. Okay. All right. So, a number of you who have been around for a long time, you will remember that I was part of CCC long ago, because a few people I meet and said, "Wow, it's been 30 years since we last see each other." I said, "Yeah, it's been a long time ago." So after I left, I did spend 4 months as an intern, but then I left. I cannot quite remember, was 92 or 91 that I left. But anyway, then I started working in the engineering consultancy, and then worked at Temasek Poly and taught for about 18 years. In between, they sent me for my master's, so I have a degree in engineering as well as architecture. And then I thought, okay, after that, I went on to SIT, and I said, wow, okay, God has really blessed me in my career. And I was thinking, I was calculating my sums, everything, and I was telling my wife, Alice, was sitting there, and said, I think I can retire at 55. Okay, and then I will focus the rest of my life, the church work and all that, pro bono. Wow, isn't that a great plan? We thought, wow, that would be fantastic. Okay, God doesn't have the same idea that I had. Okay, so what happened? I was in my office in SIT, and then I got a call from our preacher who went to Australia. He said, Kim Kai, I'm not asking you to quit your job, but can you quit your job? Because I'm here in Australia and we are forming an endowment that will send people from Asia to US for 1 semester. And you have been teaching Bible school all your life here, so perhaps you might want to take this opportunity to just go and experience life in the university, and studying and all that. I said, wow, that sounds like a fantastic opportunity. But I just started work here. So I talked to Alice, and then he said, wow, this is a rare opportunity. After all expense paid, why not? Yeah. Right? So I said, okay, all right. So I quit my job. Okay. But I did not go. So what happened was this, because I was the first case of this recipient for this endowment, and they were unfamiliar with processing all the visas and everything. So by the time the visa came, it was too late to go. And I already quit my job. Okay. And so I was like, why does this have to happen to me? I was on a good career path. I quit my job to do this, and yet this happened to me. Now, you can imagine I was angry with everybody, including God. I said, God, why do you do this to me? But I remember also praying. I said, God, you probably have something I do not know. Okay. I am slow. If you have a clear path for me, what you want me to do, I will follow it, but make it very clear. Okay. And so what happened was, a month later, a letter came from URA. The church that I go to in Moulmein, we have been trying to rebuild the building for 15 years. And URA always say, no, 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 for the past 15 years. And finally, the letter just showed up. Yeah, you can proceed. Wow. And then I was like, so God, is that it? So I quit. It's not to do that scholarship thing, but to redo the building. And our ministers told me, I said, well, you are the only engineer at that time, the only engineer and architect in the building, in the church. I think this is yours. I said, okay, all right. So I talked to my wife. Basically, it means that I cannot retire at 55. Okay. So I talked to her, and then she said, yeah, I think just do it, just do it. I'm not sure what will happen, but let's do it. And so first, pro bono. After that, they pay me, but whatever they pay me is never like what I used to get. And then in 2017 to 2018, the building was finally completed. The liability period was completed. So then I said, I didn't hear anything from the leaders. Okay. And I said, okay, maybe they are paise. They do not know how to say, thank you very much, you may go. All right. So at the leaders meeting, I tell them, it is okay, because you asked me to come to do the building. I've done the building. It's all done already. So it's okay to say, thank you very much. And I'll go back to teaching. Yes, now delayed. Yeah, but maybe I can still retire at 62 or 64, okay? But they say, no, you should stay. I said, but why? Why stay? They say, what role can I play? I say, okay, I think it's best that we all go back and pray, because I sprang a surprise on you, right? So we all go back and pray. And after that, we will come back and I will ask you the same question next month when we have our meeting again. And then the following month, we met and they say, no, we prayed and we want you to stay, but we do not know what role. Let's give one more month of prayer, I told them, and I asked the third time. And the third time, the same answer came back. We want you to stay, but we do not know what role. I said, I don't even have a formal theological training. All I have learned about the Bible is just self-read, And then one of them said, well, then go and get one. Go and get an education. I said, what? At my age? At that time, I was 52. I said, well, send me to study for what? Send somebody younger, right? And one of them was very smart. You say, you have been in education all your life. You will know that education doesn't go to waste. I said, yeah, you got me there. So I said, okay, all we know is this. I know the church cannot afford to send me, and I cannot afford to go anymore. So the sign will be that if the school actually give me a full scholarship, nothing less than full scholarship, I won't go. It means God closed the door. Okay. So, but what happened? So I went visiting these universities, and one of them said, "Well, we like you very much, but we really don't have the budget. Can you accept half scholarship?" The next one said, "Yeah, we really like you. You know, your interest area is exactly what we need. You know, but we cannot afford." And the third one says, "I'll give you a full scholarship."
Wow.
I said thank you, but in my mind, I was saying that asking the same question, but why? Give it to somebody younger, why give it to me? Okay. But God has opened the door and we're like, well, what do we do? Okay. So then the COVID came, and then of course it disrupted our whole plan. And then after COVID kind of subsided, then we said, what shall we do then? Okay. So Alice worked for an American company then, and he said, well, the boss said, oh, we'll just transfer you to US. I said, okay, good. Okay, at least there's one income coming in, which should be okay. All right. But guess what? Before we left, sort of, instead of giving you all the full detail, what happened was she got played out. Okay. She basically had to quit her job. Then the question is, what do we do? Can we still do this? And we're like, well, God opened the door. You know, is this another case of like, God, you plan for me to go, and then you're not and now I don't get to go? Is that what it is? And then we said, well, let's just step out in faith and go. And we went. And so we began life in Abilene Christian University in Texas, out in the middle of nowhere. There's no reason why anyone would go to Abilene except to go to school there. It is like a semi-desert place, really hot. Right now it is 42 to 48 degrees. And that's why I'm back here enjoying the cool Singapore weather. Okay, so that's on the day when it's not so hot, all the students gathered there. This is the chapel, this is the Bible building, where I spend most of my time there. You know, I'm either in the house that we stay in, or the Bible building, or the library. You want to look for me there? It's either of these three places. I'm nowhere else. There's nothing else to do over there. Okay, so we started, and then when we then we start to study and everything, and then over time it became very clear. Hey, all these years of self-study, I thought I know a lot. I know nothing. You know, and I make a lot of assumptions. We make a lot of assumptions. And we're like, wait a minute, I need to think all over again. And so I came across this quote from George Shaw: "Beware of false knowledge. Okay, it's more dangerous than ignorance." And I thought, wow, how true. Okay, and so since I'm sharing my journey, so the next part of my journey is I have to learn Greek. Wow. Because when they say, okay, the dean say, okay, I'll give you the scholarship. Here are the list of master's degree. Which one? Pick one. You know, and I was like, wow, so kind to me. You know, pick one. Then I said, New Testament. I think I know New Testament more. I picked New Testament. Little did I know that New Testament's New Testament in Greek. I was like, but anyway, you know, learning a new language at my age, I was like, But okay, so this is your brief introduction to Greek. Okay, the word for faith, okay, in Greek is pistis. Pistis. Okay, all right. It is a noun. Okay, and it is a feminine noun. Okay, we won't go into the masculine neuter, but never mind. The definition is faith or faithfulness, usually translated as faith, belief, trust, confidence, fidelity, faithfulness. But importantly, you know, it is basically a trust that leads to obedience. In our today's idea, when we say we have faith, it is always an intellectual faith. Okay. in ancient time, there is no such thing as an intellectual faith. Faith always leads to action because it's inside, deep inside. It's a trust. Do you trust me? Do it. That's the idea. Okay. So that's what faith is about. Okay. Now, Greek noun system is complex. Okay. They have 4 cases. Okay. The nominative case basically means that it serves as a subject. And you notice it is the pistis. Okay. Then there's a genitive case, which basically means of or from. And this is pisteos. And then dative parallels to in, for, by, which, and this pistei. Okay. And then accusative means that that's the direct object, pistin. If that sounds confusing, don't worry. We're just going to concentrate on one genitive. Okay. All right. So that means of or from. Okay. I think the noun system is complicated. Wait till you see the verbal system. I'm still learning. Okay, so why do I say translation is an interpretation? We all have our English Bible. It's translated from Greek. Somebody has to do it. Okay, actually a committee of them did it. But they have to decide when they read Greek, what does this mean in English? And all of us here, Singaporean, we know more than one language, and you know that one language doesn't really translate to another language. That's one, okay? But sometimes there's a theological thing that you have to make a decision as well. We'll come to this, all right? Matthew has heard this before. We talked about that, okay? So this is in Romans 3, verse 20 to 23. Okay, so therefore, no one will be declared righteous in God's sight by the works of the law, rather than through the law we become conscious of our sin. But now, apart from the law, the righteousness of God has been made known, to which the law and the prophets testify. This righteousness is given through faith in Jesus Christ to all who believe. There is no difference between Jew and Gentile, for all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God, and all are justified freely by His grace through the redemption that came by Christ Jesus. And obviously, I want you to focus on faith, pistis, right? All right, this is the one we want to focus on. Here, basically, is talking about faith in Jesus Christ. Whose faith? Your faith. Okay. Now, let's take a look. In Greek, it is not so clear. Okay. Pisteos iso Christo. Obviously, iso Christo, you know, is Jesus Christ. Pisteos, you notice, is in the genitive case. Okay. What does it mean? Okay. In the genitive case, we say it's of or from. In year 1 of Greek, you say it's of. Okay. Or from. Then in year 2 of Greek, then you say actually there are 14 different ways to do it. Wow. Okay. All right. Then, so, but here we point out 2 because this came from, out of the 14, these are the 2 cases. Okay. One is the genitive, the objective genitive, okay, which means that the subject is Jesus Christ, is the recipient of the action noun, faith, which means it is your faith in Jesus Christ. He is the recipient. You are the one giving the faith. Okay? But there is a subjective genitive as well, okay, which means the subject, Jesus Christ, is the producer of the action or noun. So it is not your faith, it's Jesus' faith. The question then is, which one? All the translators, I won't say all, because the latest translation has changed it. The latest translation has changed it to the faith of Jesus Christ. Okay. But all the translation, you go, you know, there's a lot of Bible apps, you can look at all the translation. They all talk about our faith in Jesus Christ. Okay. Then the question is, which one? So you have to look at context. Okay, because from the grammar itself, it is unclear. So you have to look at the context, and then if you look at Romans, of course, you need to understand the historical context of Romans, why Paul wrote it, okay? Because what happened was the church in Rome, nobody knows exactly how it started, but Most likely, after they have left Jerusalem, they went back to Rome, because in Acts 2, you read about all these people coming, and Rome was one other place. Okay, so they went back to Rome and they started the church. Before long, Gentiles start coming in. Okay, then Emperor Claudius issued an edict and said, no, all Jews get out of Rome. Get out of Rome. And then, so all the Jews, and then you read about it in Acts, okay, where, wow, they have to leave Rome, and Paul met them. Then subsequently, Nero, the infamous Nero, Nero actually has two phases. His good years, and then subsequently his bad years. But we always remember the bad years. The early good years, he actually did a lot of good things. And one of the good things was he said, forget about the edict. The Jews can come back again to Rome. The question is this: when you were away for a while, the Gentiles has taken over as the leaders of the church. Now the Jews come back and say, hey, we are the leaders. What do you expect? Fight, right? Yeah. Now you understand why Paul wrote the letter. And then you see how his argument is all about how Jews and Gentiles, neither of you are superior. Okay. And so Gentile have sinned, okay? Jews not any better. So that's why in conclusion, both Jews and Gentile, everybody have sinned, okay? And then back to the passage in 3, so it's either faith in Jesus Christ, again, means our faith, or Jesus Christ's faith. But then in 26, they did this demonstrate his righteousness at the present time so as to be just, and the one to justify those who have faith in Jesus. Again, talking about our faith, okay? But the Greek, again, is the kaios onta ton ek pisteos eso. We see it could mean also justifying those out of Jesus' faithfulness, okay? Now, so, but from the context, and then later on in Matthew 5, Romans chapter 5, it talks about Jesus daring to die for the unrighteous. It's talking about this way. Earlier, Katian was talking about how Jesus suffered. Okay, the question is this: did Jesus require a lot of faith to do that? If you know that you're going to die, and you're going to die in a horrendous way, you think you have to have a lot of faith to do it? Yeah. So it is a major difference between Jesus' faith and our faith. Okay, and I like this picture. Why? Because during our travels, we always see all kinds of people in the airport, right? And then invariably we'll come across a young kid pulling a luggage, and then with the parents pulling the big luggage, and they feel very important, right? But what's inside? Toys, diapers, compared to the things that are more important in the adulthood. So it's a very similar idea, okay? God, or rather Jesus, has done the heavy lifting. It is his faith that saved us. And it is still his faith that is saving us day by day. He is the one that put his faith in Jesus Christ when he went to the cross. It is his faith that saved us, not our faith. It is not our faith that saved us. And that's super important. Okay, so is there any room for boasting? I have stronger faith than him, that's why I'm so awesome, No. Not at all. It's Jesus' faith, not our faith. So our faith and trust doesn't mean it's not important. Obviously, it's important, okay? That's why Hebrews and dedicate a chapter on that, okay? But it's always about we remaining faithful to the end, because we require to trust God even when things do not go our way. When things don't appear to seem to be going our way, then what do we do? Do we trust? When what we expect to happen did not happen, when there are obstacles in our road, or when there's sickness, or or even in church life, when things doesn't go our way, what do? Do we continue to trust God? That's our faith. But remember is that small little thing, carrying that small little luggage. Jesus done the heavy lifting. And I think that is worth our trusting in him. Amen. So, question. So, how did the translators make that decision? Okay, why did they translate as our faith? Okay, historical. So, you all know about the Reformation. So in the Reformation, there's a reaction against the corruption. Okay, so 500 years ago, Martin Luther nailed the thesis on the castle door. Okay, and basically they want to reform the church because at that time the church was doing all kinds of horrible things. Okay, including that you need to pay money so that your relatives can get out of Hades and things like that. And it was like Martin Luther said, this is wrong. And this all works, okay? So his swing basically to the other extreme. It's just faith, okay? Just our faith. Nothing to do with all this works, okay? So in a sense, he's going on the right track, but I think it's swinging everything to the other extreme. So it's then the focus on our faith. And then, of course, there were a lot of wars, okay, because there were a lot of denominations, and you probably have read about the Anabaptists who say, well, we should reform even further. We should really restore the New Testament Christianity, and we should be immersing people rather than sprinkling people. And so what did Martin Luther and all the people did? What did they do? They said, okay, you guys like immersion so much, we will drown you to death. Okay, and that happens, and there were a lot of wars and things like that. And then, but then subsequently, when they discovered America, they started to move away. They said, no, it's a new opportunity to start everything anew again, against all what they had inherited. And they say they want to return to a biblical religion. And then there's then a lot of focus because it's a new land, right? Well, there must be freedom because against the against UK, right, England, and then individualism, and then starting from there to focus on personal religious experience. And then there was a lot of revivals, and then they preached in the frontiers, and then there's this guy, Finney, who is known as the father of modern revivalism. So he's the one that invented the invitation song, or the idea of the invitation. Basically, after the sermon, you're supposed to come to the front. These seats here, nobody occupy them because there's an anxious seat. You're going to come here, and we're going to pressure you to convert today. Okay? And he wrote this, okay, which was shocking to me. Okay? He said, the church has always seen that it is necessary to have something to serve this purpose. What purpose is that? Okay? In the newborn church, baptism met this need. Okay, and they're talking about getting into the church. How do you get into the church? How do you convert? Baptism, the early church. The apostle preached the gospel to the people, and then all willing to be on Christ's side were called to be baptized. It held the same place the ancient seat does now. Okay, a public manifestation of determination to be a Christian. So what he's saying is this: in the past, for the last 1,800 years, the church has always called people to get baptized. Today, you don't need to do that anymore. But the fact that you come to the front and you express that you want to follow Christ, good enough. Now you know where this idea comes from. Huh? Okay. So again, because of the focus on individualism, the personal salvation, personal savior, throughout 1,800 years, it's never been personal savior. It's always a community. It's always about the church. It's us. It's not I, me, myself. But because of what is happening in US at that time, there's a lot of individualism that's riding and changing people's religious belief. And before too long, okay, in 1940s, especially after the war, the idea of the sinner's prayer came about. Basically, I accept Jesus in my heart, means I get converted. Okay. So this is what happened. Then the question is, can we trust our Bible? I'll say that 95% of the time, fine. Okay. But what it does mean is that, is it important to read Greek? Very important. Okay, because there are 5%, okay, which makes a lot of difference. So studying is important. So when we talk about returning to biblical religion or New Testament Christianity, so my question is which one? Theology, ethics, the practices, or the forms? Most people will say, well, let's do the practice. How was the New Testament like? And for example, in worship service, let's try to copy that. So what does the New Testament church say about gender, the roles in the church? Okay, or church governance. The question is, we are making an assumption there. We are making the assumption that when the epistles were written, or Acts was written, it was written for us today to tell us how to do it, how to run church. But it was not. So you have to understand context. Why were these epistles written, when it was written, for what reason, and what was the objective? And that's more important. And then you start to realize, oh, we have made a lot of assumptions. Okay. So again, I just want to stress the importance of study, backgrounds, history, theology, and ethics. I think is super important. We should have not focused, and I think we need to focus on that a lot more. What's the original message of the author, and how does it apply to us today? Over time, basically, it became just very clear to me. Okay, false or little knowledge is worse than ignorance. So when I came back, Matthew said, I want to find out from you, is there an online course from Abilene Christian University? I said, we can do better than that. So what has been happening in the past 2 years is I've been talking to the professors, and I said, Christianity is dwindling in the West. Churches are getting smaller, there are less people going to church. There are more people going to church in Asia and Africa, but all the studies and all that are still in the West. I think we need to move some of this resource to the East. And they agree. And they said, yeah, Abilene Christian University, I've started 2 schools in Africa. And you're right, maybe you should start one in Singapore. Okay? So the College of Biblical Studies, specifically the Graduate School of Theology, is going to start an extension in Singapore. The goal is the first in-person course for the start at Moulmein, because we have a new building, we can offer it as classrooms, right, by next year. Okay, and the dean is going to come, Dr. Carson Reed is the dean. He is going to come actually this Friday morning, okay, but we have an info session Saturday, 10 to 11:30 for anyone who might be interested. I know some people who are just interested just to learn. They don't want a degree, and that's fine. They know that. Some want a certificate, some want a master's. People come with different reasons, but all these is made available. Okay, so questions. Well, how much does it cost? And then ask the team, not me. Okay. All right. So finally, there's so much we don't know. And we think we know, but actually we don't. Okay. There's a lot of need for humility and studying. But the good news is Christ has done the heavy lifting so that we don't have to. But we need to trust Him. Whatever you're going through in your life, trust Him. Trust and walk in obedience. Amen.